We'll leave that as a mystery.
I got it already.
Good
No more
evening.
mystery.
Yeah, we are learning as Chusr for Shlema Filan Chaya Baserach. We're on Sadi Gimel Amud Aleph by the Mishnah. Rob, give me a tip off when you gotta go, okay?
Okay.
It's like the Mishnah. Now we're moving on to Smicha, which is when you take the animal, some animals before they're shechted, the Bailim push their hands down on it. They rest their hands on it. We actually started in the last Mishnah. We'll continue with it. Hakol Saimchen. Every person who brings a carbon is eligible to do smicha chutz mecheir shaita v'katan, except for cheir shaita v'katan. Cheirish is someone who's blind and deaf and mute. Shaita is a crazy person. A katan, a child. Vesuma, a blind person. Va'evid kechavim, a non-Jew. Va'eved, an eved. V'hashliach, person can't send a shliach to do smicha. Va'isha, a woman, a wife cannot do smicha for her husband. And generally, the Gemara Mishnah says, a doesn't mean bedafka a wife, means a woman. Usmicha shiare mitzvah. Smicha is something that it's a extra mitzvah, meaning that it's something that if you don't do it, it's not fatal. It doesn't fully take away your kapara. As we'll see, it's not the same. You are obliged to do it, but it doesn't fully ruin the kapara. You don't have to bring another one. The way you do it is al rosh yadayim. The bailim leans with two hands on the head of the animal in the place wherever in the Beis Hamikdash, wherever that they do the smicha, they also do the shchita immediately afterwards. But take it with smicha shchita. Immediately after smicha, that's followed by shchita. Tzarkamar. We understand why Chayyim Shaita B'Katan can't do smicha. They can't do pretty much anything. So they don't have das, so they're not able to be yotze the mitzvah of smicha. Oivet kechavim nami bnei Yisrael saimchen ve'ein oivet kechavim saimchen. The pasuk says, Dabrel bnei Yisrael. So it says bnei Yisrael. Elasuma my time aloi. Why can't a suma do smicha? Rav Chizda Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi argue about what the reason is. Chad Amar Asya smicha smicha miziknei eda. One says we learn out from the ziknei ha'eda, which is the pasuk says that the ziknei ha'eda will do the smicha by the parhelim davar. The parhelim davar, the Torah says directly to do smicha, and it says over there that it should be done by the ziknei ha'eda, and the ziknei ha'eda are the Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin cannot be people who are blind. There's a number of reasons. Rashi gives a couple of reasons, either because they're required to see. I think the Torah says that they're not allowed to be a Baal Mum, or because it says Sanhedrin, they have to. The Torah says they were makish dinei Torah to negoyim, to looking at a tzaras, and to look at a tzaras, obviously you have to have vision. So therefore, they can't be dan dinim unless they have vision. And also we say, just like Rashi also says, they have to be clean, just like they have to be clean from and like pure in their judgment. They also have to be pure in their bodies, that they can't have a mum. Okay, that's a machlokes in the Gemara and Sanhedrin. But in any case, the Zikanim can't be about mum, so we learn out, since the smicha of the Ziknei Eda by Paral Davar Shel Tzibur is not by Yasuma, so none of the Asuma can never do it. Any smicha is the same din. That's Rav Chizda. One says like that. One says you learn it out from the oila that's brought when you come up to the Beis Hamikdash on Yom Tov, and you bring a carbon, where we learn out from the Oilus Nedava that needs smicha. So we say Oilus Riyah also needs smicha, and Oilus Riyah cannot be brought by someone who's blind. The Riyah is the Torah says you have to. That's what it's called. You have to go and see It's called the Eilus Riyah, that you come and see the Beis Hamikdash. Someone who's a suma is potter from the smicha. He's potter from the Eilus Riyah, and therefore he's potter from the smicha. Why do we pick that? Quintamanamus says you learn from Elisriya. Why don't you use the other pshat? So done yachid miyachid. The Elisriya is bought by everyone who comes. It's not a tzibur thing. So we're going to learn out generally the smicha is done by a yachid, not by a tzibur, other than some exceptions. So we would rather learn the yechidim from yechidim. Done yachid mitzibur, as opposed to learning out from paham dovashal tzibur, which is tzibur. And what about the other way around? Why wouldn't they want to learn from Elisriya? So he says, I'd rather learn out from Elis, from the Palam Davashal Tzibur, where the Torah says directly on it that there's a din smicha. Lafuke Elis Riya, the he gufa me Elis Nedava Gama. Elis Riya, the fact that it needs a smicha is only because the Torah says about Elis Nedava. Elis Riya is a chayva, but it's a chayvus for a yachid, which we said earlier that it wasn't one of the exceptions that a yachid doesn't bring, with just the things that are for chayt, not for the things that are chayva. So therefore, we prefer not to learn something that has to be learned out from something else. The Tani coming to Rav Yitzchak bar Abba. V'yikra v'sa'oilo v'yasa kamishpat oilus and dava. This is where we see that. Where do we see that the oilus re'iyah needs smicha? Because it says v'yasa kamishpat, which is like kamishpat oilus and dava, that tells you that oilus chayva also needs smicha. The Mishnah said that a slave and a messenger, or someone who is appointed as an agent, or a woman, are all excluded from sicha. Tanarban yadai v'lo yad avdai, yadai v'lo yad shlucha, yadai v'lo yad ishta. The Torah says yadai at least 3 times, and so each one is coming to tell you one of these 3 dinim. Kol hani lamali. Why did we have to say a separate pasuk for each one? Why can't you just say yadai one time and that will tell you all 3? Tzrich. You need each one. I would exclude the eved. Eved can't do smicha, but maybe the isha and the shlich could do it, because they both are al shlich the bar mitzvah who shluch shaladim kamoisai emel lismach. Maybe you could be semich v'yashmin hanitati, and if it would say 2, that both of these are excluded, both the eved and the shliach. The lav kaguvay dami. Aval ishtay de kaguvay dami. A person's wife. This is why I said in the mission I was talking about the wife. Even his wife can't step into his shoes to do the smicha. In spite, because we might think that a wife could, because she's ishtay kagufay. Ema tismich tzrichas. That's why we need all 3 psukim. So we said smicha shiarei mitzvah. The smicha is a leftover mitzvah. It means it's not 100% obligated. If a person doesn't do it, he still gets the kapara. Tanar Rabban, v'samach v'nirtza. He says he does smicha and he gets ritzui. He gets ritzui is another way of saying it's accepted and he gets a kapara. Smicha b'kaparas. Why does the Torah say that he's saimach and then he gets a kapara? V'lein kapara el b'dam. The kapara only comes, as we've seen many times throughout kachim. The kapara comes when you zayrik the dam. Shenevach yadam b'nefesh yichaper. So what does it say? V'nirtza v'samach v'nirtza. Alemel Hashem also l'smicha shiarei mitzvah malav akasav ki lo chiper v'chiper. It's coming to tell you that there is an element of kapara in the smicha, that if a person left out the smicha, that he's not going to have gotten the full kapara. It's as if he was partially keeper and partially not keeper. The Tanya gabe tnufa ki agavna l'tnufa l'chaper. We have a similar drasha l'gabe tenufa, the waving of the carbon. That it says that how could it say tenufa l'chaper, that you get a kapara from tenufa? The kapara comes from dam. Shenemek yadam b'nefesh yichaper. Alemach Hashem also tenufa shiarei mitzvah. If a person left out the tenufa, malav akaski loy keeper v'keeper. So it's to tell you that he was not fully mechaper, but he does get, ultimately, he doesn't have to bring another one, but he didn't do it properly. The Mishnah said you do smicha ala roish on the head of the animal. Tanarabban. Yadai ala roish yadai ala tzaver. His hand should be on the head of the animal and not on the throat of the animal. Yadai ala roish yadai ala gabayim. It should be on the head of the animal and not on the back of the animal. Yadai ala roish yadai ala chaza. Should be on its head and not on the chest of the animal. Kol hani lamali. What do you have to tell you all of these? If we just say one, I would say lamute tzaver, the loy kai bahadi roishet. The tzaver is not on the same side. The throat is not on the same side as the head. Aval gabay the kai lahadi roish, but the back, which is opposite the roish, ema loy. Maybe that you can do it if you are yaitz with it. Tzrichas. That's why I had to say a second roish. V'yashmin hani trei mishum deloyis rabbi letnufa. Neither of them do you do tenufa. You don't do tenufa on the back or the throat of the animal. Of chaza, but the chest of the animal, this rabbi letnufa, the chaza b'shoik, there's tenufa on them. Ema aloi. Maybe that you could do smicha on. Tzricha. That's why we need 3 limudim. Yibailu yadel at stud ma. What if he puts his hands on the side of the head of the animal? Tashma the Tanya Abba Bira Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov. Abba Bira Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov says yadel al roish yadel at stud. His hand has to be on the head and not on the sides. Where Rabbi Yirmiyah matlas malshe tachat. So what's the din if he holds it? If he holds the animal, if he does smicha, well, he's wearing gloves or he has a shmata in his hand. Is it going to be a chatzitza? Tashma b'vachalete davar chaytzitz beina beinha zevach. We learned in a brisa that you can't have anything being chaytzitz, and therefore a taka would be a chatzitza, and it would not be a valid smicha. Ubishtei yadayim. We said he has to do the smicha with 2 hands. Mirani mili amar shlakish amar krav asamachar neshtei yadai. Ksiv yadai uksiv shtei. It says he has to do shtei yadai, his 2 hands. It says yadai and it says 2. Zebanav kol makom shenemar yadai harei kan shtayim. That tells you whenever it says yadai, even though yadai sounds like 1, but it says shtei yadai, that tells you it always means 2. Until the Torah, this is what Rish Lakish says, until the Torah says 1, we will always assume yadai is 2. Rabbi Elazar said over this memra, but he didn't say over b'shem Rish Lakish. Shomer Rish Lakish ve'ekbid. Rish Lakish heard this and he was upset. As we'll see, he was upset because he felt like Rabbi Elazar did not fully understand what he was saying, and he immediately, this is my grandfather, my mother's father always used to do. Whenever I would say anything, he'd ask me a million questions until he was satisfied, both of us, that I didn't know what I was talking about. That's what he wanted to do. Rish Lakish wanted to show Rabbi Elazar that he didn't fully understand. Amalei. Whenever it says yada, it means 2. Yadav. Actually, Esrim Vidal Yadav. He showed him 24 places in the Torah where it says the word yadav. Why would it ever say yadav? It could just say yadai, since yadav is 2 and yadai is 1. But yadai also means 2, so why say yadav? And he gave the pasuk. We gives examples. Yadav to Vienna, which is and it said Yad of Ravloi, Legabi Yehuda, it says his hands, Yad of Eloshin Rabim, Shichel as Yadav by Yaakov when he was giving the brachas to Ephraim and Menachos. So this is Rish Lakish asked Rabbi Elazar, what do you mean? If it's true, why does it have to say this? Ishtik. Rabbi Elazar was he was stuck. He didn't have what to say. Labasa denach daite. After Rish Lakish calmed down, I'm like, my time tamely yadav desmicha ka'amri. Why did you tell me that that you could have had an answer? That I was only talking about the yadav legabe smicha. It doesn't. These are all these examples that you gave. We're not talking about smicha. They're talking about other things. So Rabbi Elazar answered back, "B'smicha nami ksevi yismichas yadav alavi yotzei." It says legabe smicha that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was giving smicha, our version of smicha to a student, it says yadav. So why does it say yadav? Why doesn't it say yadav? Since yadav, that's also smicha. Smicha the behema kamri. Rabbi Rish Lakish said, no, that's not a taina. because I was only you could have said it's only talking about smicha of a behema, not smicha of a talmud. The Mashne continued, says that the place that they shech, they do the smicha, that's how they do shechita, and it says that the smicha is right after shechita. My kama, hakikam, but ma'akom shech saimchin shechtin shetekef l'smicha shechita. The reason why it's done in the same place is because the shechita has to be done immediately after smicha. Okay, we still have another 10 minutes. We can finish the parak if you guys don't mind. It's not. I don't think you're gonna find it too difficult. Sagt Mishnah. Chaimer sicha shebetnufa. Ubetnufa b'smicha. There's a chaimer and smicha. The chumra of smicha has over tnufa, and tnufa has over smicha. She'echad meinif l'chol hachaverim, ve'in echad saimel l'chol hachaverim. Like we said in the previous Mishnah, each person has to do their own smicha, but legabe tnufa, who if you have a bunch of partners in a carbon, one of them can do tnufa. Chayim betnufa shebetnufa neheges b'kabanas yachad b'kabanas tzibur. Tnufa is done both by kabanas yachad and kabanas tzibur. B'chayim u'b'shchutin. It can be done also. There's a tnufa that's done with the live animal, and it's also done with parts of the animal after it's shechted. It could be something that's alive, and it's something that's not alive. It could also be things like on a lechem, which is not never alive. Smicha is only on a live behemoth. That's a chaimer of tnufa over smicha. Taner Rabban, kabbaner l'rab is kol bali carbon l'smicha. Torah says kabbaner. We had this before. It tells you that all of the partners in a carbon have to do the smicha. Sheyachav dinu. I might have thought umat tnufa shenisrabsa b'shchutin. If the tnufa, which there's two types of tnufa. Tnufa could be both by a live animal and with the slaughtered parts. Masha enkein the smicha nismata b'chayvrin. The tnufa can only be done. It only has to have. I'm sorry. The smata b'chayvrin. It only is done by one. It can be done only by one person. Smicha shaloi nisrabe b'shchutin. Ein adin shet esmayit b'chayvrin. It shouldn't have, if it has this kula, that it doesn't have, there's no such thing as a smita on something that's shechted, it should also only have one person to do the smicha, not all the partners. That's what we need the pasuk karbana. L'rab is kol bali carbon l'smicha. Tell you all the participants, all the partners have to do smicha. So let's say the other way around. Let's say tnufa should also be able to be done by all of the participants, all of the partners. Smicha, which cannot be done with a behema after shchita, it still has to have everyone to, each one of the partners has to do smicha. Tnufa b'shchutin ein edin sheshrabsa b'chayvin. B'chayvin should also certainly have that same chumrah. So it's not possible to have multiple people do tnufa. What are you going to suggest? Limfu kulu bahadi adadi. They should all put their hand on it and do the waving at the same time. Kahavi chatzitza. That's a chatzitza. If one person's hand, right, there's a specific place, I guess, where you have to hold it. I guess or if you have a small animal, there's not going to be enough room. So one person's hand is going to interrupt the other. So that's not going to be a kosher tnufa. Leinif alihada leinif. And if they should do consecutive, do it separately. Tnufa mrachman v'loy tnufa v'loy tnufais. The Torah says one tnufa and not multiple. So you don't have an option of doing more than one tnufa. But smicha, the Torah doesn't say, the lashon of v'samach doesn't mean just one. It could mean also more than one. In fact, tomorrow smicha b'shchutin lesa. This whole Gemara we've been assuming that there's no such thing as smicha once the animal was shechted. This is the whole seder of the Kabbanas and Yom Kippur, of how they brought the Tamid and all the Kabbanas of Yom Kippur. So the Kohen Gadol Hayoyle B'Kevesh, he would go up the ramp, Askam B'Yamina, and the skam was on his right side. He gave L'Mechtzes HaKevesh. When he got halfway up the ramp, he would get tired. The Kohen Gadol would get tired. Achot skam B'Yamina. The Skan Kohen Gadol would help him up. He would grab him. V'Aleyu V'Hoishet Lo Harishan Haroish V'Haregel. Then the Kohen who had done the shechita would hand him the roish and the regel of the Talmud. Saimech aleim, the Kohen Gadol would be Saimech aleim. This is pieces of the Oila, V'zarkan, and he would throw them onto the fire. Hoysher Hasheni l'Rishon shtei yadayim. Then the Sheni would give to the Rishon the two yadayim of the behemoth. Noisel the Kohen Gadol, Saimech aleim. Again, he'd do smicha v'zarkan. Then he would throw it into the fire. Nishma tasheni, v'halachlei. The Sheni left. V'kacha yimeshitun lo yishar kol evarim. Saimech aleim v'zarkan. That's the way the Kohen Gadol would do all the different pieces of the carbon. He would take them and he would throw them into fires. Manshu roitza hu saimech v'acher marzarkan. If he got really tired, he would just do the smicha and the others would throw. But in any case, you see he's doing a smicha after the shechita. This we've been saying the whole time that smicha is only on a live animal. Rabaya hasa mishum kvoide de Kohen Gadol says that's not a real smicha. That was a smicha that was done as a cover of the Kohen Gadol. He'd be samich his hands on it, but it wasn't the regular din smicha. That we don't find that the Torah requires an independent smicha by any animal after shechita. Okay, we made it in good time.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.